Good morning, friends and family. I've had some things stirring in my heart for at least this week. It just kept coming up, and I'd been thinking about it though probably for a few weeks. But I just wanted to try to share some of this, what's been stirring in me. I hope that it's not just a total ramble. Chamble. Sorry, any of you who've been watching that on Instagram. Anyway, no. So I have a couple notes here over here on my computer in case I forget what I'm trying to say. But basically, though, I just want to talk to you as my friend because that's what you are. But today, I'm glad it's turned out that I'm doing this on what I looked up to find out is called Holy Saturday. You know, I knew there's Good Friday and Easter Sunday and Maundy Thursday, but I didn't know if Saturday between Good Friday and Easter had a name. And it looked like there were several names, but the one I latched onto was Holy Saturday. But you know, it's the day where we hopefully are remembering and trying to remember and feel that Jesus was actually dead in a tomb. So that's what today is. And this is a unique one, though, in that it's the first one any of us have ever experienced a Holy Saturday with a pandemic, where our lives have been turned upside down. So I kind of want to try to connect these things together. But what has struck me ever since the pandemic first hit is how much it has been like our lives being turned upside down beginning December 19th. 6 days before Christmas, when the doctor called and said, you do have cancer. And our lives were literally upended, and everything changed. There was no normal. Like it or not, our lives were turned into a whirlwind. Let me see here. Let me look at my notes. Because I was thinking about how it's so similar. We had new dangers. Basically, this disease in my body. A huge danger, a life-threatening danger. My work had to change. Could I even work? I didn't work for about a month, but trying to then communicate that with everybody and figure out what work is going to be now. And I had to quarantine myself. There were some days where I could go out and about, and but I still had to be very careful washing my hands, social distance. And then some days where I had to literally stay home and have nobody come home here into the house. So we had financial challenges. You know, now I'm not working as much, and what is this cancer treatment going to cost us? So Craig felt that more than I did, because that's just how we do. He was very worried about that. There was a period of time where we were like jostling and juggling and so off balance and just surreal. Everything was utterly surreal. And eventually we got into this new normal, and it's a routine. Now that was before the pandemic hit, because then when that hit, I was so struck by how the whole world is experiencing what we've been going through. This is so weird. And now, of course, it affected us in the way our whole new normal had to shift, but it didn't shift as much as other people's did because we were already doing a lot of this weirdness. So it was almost like having solidarity, everybody joining us in our weirdness. So anyway, that's a description of our changes and then now living through the pandemic with everybody. But it struck me all along like, okay, here's the thing. From the moment that I got off the phone with the doctor, I mean, I hope to write about this at some point, but actually had Craig there, and then these two friends came to join and pray with us and help us. Like what? Oh, okay, it's all that, but I'll write about that sometime. But when they left the room to go home and Craig went to get in his car and I was alone, I knew I had a sense of hope. I had a sense of God saying, take my hand, Jamie. This isn't happening to you. It's happening with me. Let's walk through this door together. It is going to be really difficult. It is going to be, you're going to suffer. But I'm doing something new. So that word new is kind of the main thing I want to talk about and share and hopefully have conversation with all of you later. But I felt him saying, the things your heart has been longing for, and that he and I had been, in spiritual journey, you're working through stuff, you're wanting spiritual growth, you're aware of certain growth happening, but I felt like I was still like hitting a wall with this. I'll have to write about that later too, like what it actually is, but I felt like he was saying, we're gonna break down this wall of what you've been longing for in your heart and soul and mind, the things that keep you trapped, the things that keep you in shame and anxiety. Those are my two main things. Some people deal with, the rage and the sense of hating injustice in the world and how things are wrong, and but mine is more shame. And it affects my relationships. It affects everything. It affects how I wake up in the morning and feel burdened, how I interact with my husband and what I think he's saying to me, because I've got this shame lens and filter, and I hear it through there. And, my kids see me struggling with not believing that I have worth. All of these things, I know that takes them down. These are things that, God's been working on for decades. And spiritual growth happens that way, like in spurts and launches, and then there's that low time. Not low, but the slower growth time. Anyway, I felt like he was saying, this is going to be, we're launching, we're going on a launch. So I was hopeful, and so all right, that was kind of point 1, point 2, and then point 3, okay? Point 2 is God didn't like cancer. He didn't say, I'm gonna give this to Jamie. That's a whole mystery. So I don't want to go there today. Like, did God cause it? Did he allow it? Did he have anything to do with it? Did he just was a bystander? Oh, that's too bad. Well, I'll help her now. Anyway, I'm not going to go really into that. I do think that God is very involved, that he's not a bystander. But he doesn't like cancer. It is, he he groans. If you saw the one other video I did and talked about the whole earth is groaning, and we are groaning, and I hadn't covered the whole passage, but later it says the Spirit himself groans. God is groaning with this fallenness of the earth we're dealing with, where sin came and just touches everything. It doesn't ruin everything, but it touches everything, and it brings decay, and it brings death. And death in many different kinds of ways, not just physical death. And God groans about that. He doesn't love that. So with the pandemic, death has come, and God is groaning about this pandemic. In some ways, he is groaning because the death of actual people is happening. The death of many dreams of work and jobs and new projects that literally may be gone for good now. Death of weddings, having the dream of having your whole family celebration and come, and now some dear friends of mine today are having a very small wedding, and the couple had hoped to be in a whole season of celebration where they're graduating from college. There's no graduation. There are very real losses and deaths, and we need to feel those. In the same way we need to feel on Holy Saturday that Jesus was dead. Because that's why he was dead, is because of all this stuff we grieve on this planet, both externally and in myself. The stuff I grieve inwardly about my own sin and the old ways of thinking that keep me ucky. So cancer is real. The pandemic is real. Sin is real. And Jesus being dead was real. And even though it's not Easter morning yet, I gotta talk about it a little bit, because it's my main point. Okay, you ready? Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like it's been 13 minutes and I gotta hurry. But only a few weeks after I was diagnosed, and I had that night where I heard the doctor say, yes, what we found was cancer. And I felt like God saying, take my hand. I just felt like hope come through the door. Well, a few weeks later in my daily reading, it was about the new wineskin for the new wine. So if you're not a Bible reader, and you have no idea what I'm talking about, maybe look it up. Google Jesus and the new wineskins and the new wine. So this was back in January, maybe early February, that I came across this, and I felt it was a gift to God. From God to me. Jamie, so I read the passage about you can't put new wine into old wineskins. They'll burst. Because the new wine has to ferment, I guess, and it creates pressure, and the old wineskin is all stretched out, has no more room to stretch, so it bursts, and there goes the new wine. And so I was reading that passage, and as I do, and I hope you do too, in reading, God has taught me to read like I'm receiving from him, as opposed to what I used to do, which was try to read in order to be good or see it what it is and make sure I'm getting it right. And maybe, it's all at the same time. I knew he loved me, but still I'm doing this. But now, after some years of his wonderful love to me, he's been teaching me to read it and then go, oh, what are you giving me? And I felt him saying, so I was just like, you're giving me a new wineskin? Oh my gosh, you're giving me a new wineskin. So with cancer, you know the feeling because of the pandemic. Total life upended to where all your muscle memory, your ruts, your routines, default, everything default, it's all upended. What a gift! You have a chance for a new wineskin if you take it. If you say, Lord, what might you be wanting to upend and actually remove this old wineskin in me that is so stuck in its old ways? And when you so basically when God is pouring in his new wine and, okay, try to bear with me, stick with me, follow me. Thursday night was the Last Supper where Jesus said he was inaugurating the new covenant in his blood. He took the wine and he said, this is the blood of my new covenant. Drink from it. And so I kind of picture wine as a representative of his blood and his spirit. The new covenant is in the spirit. So when God pours anything new into us, which is always life itself, I mean, life is something that is living, right? So it grows and it has beauty and it is good as opposed to death. And our old wineskin only knows about our old junk. And so when the new wine of the Spirit comes in, which is like teaching you of your worth and that his blood and body took care of your sin. I can't get into too much of what it might mean for you and what it's meant for me, but it pours in and then it just bursts and you lose it. But the new wineskin God wants to do is something like creating a whole new reality of understanding. I don't know how to say it. I just hope God's going to tell you because I can't say it any better. I've been hoping to write about it so that I get it more clear in my head. But I know for me that it's been very much surrounding shame and anxiety. And when he pours in his truth of love, it just kind of has spilled out. But through this whole cancer journey, God's been creating this sturdy wineskin. Guys, might he want to create a sturdy wineskin for you through this pandemic or whatever else is going on in your life? I think the first thing is you have to learn awareness. Well, what do I long for? Like you may just be grunting through and you don't even know that there's a possibility for something different or even a possibility that there's this angst in your heart. Because sometimes we just don't even know that matters, that anybody would care, or that especially that God would care, that there are these things in me that are crying out for release and for freedom and stuff like that. So anyway, I love you all. We are all in this together. Just as they're saying about the pandemic, well, that's always been true, right? We've always all been in this together, this life on this planet, where we're in the now of the new, and the not yet as we live on this groaning planet. So let's do it together. Love you. Okay, so I'm going to have this I'm going to put it on YouTube, linked in my Caring Bridge. Please comment about anything about you. I would love to hear it, either on the YouTube channel. Why not like it? That might be fun. You know, like, or subscribe. Maybe I'll do some more videos. I really like doing this. Anyway, talk to you soon. Happy Holy Saturday and happy